I'm the Orlando Wizard, and today I have my good friend Samuel, and we're going to talk about how to pick your colors when you're at Savi's creating your own lightsaber. At Savi's, they offer you 4 different colors, even though you could buy 2 other colors at Doc's. The colors they offer you at Savi's is red, purple, blue, and green. But how do you pick your colors? What crystal identifies with you? There actually is a process to this. Most people, when they walk in to build their lightsabers, they have a color in mind, and they're going to sit there and like, oh, I want a red crystal, or I want a green, blue, or purple crystal. But if you really want to do it right, it's kind of based on who you are inside. And we're going to talk about this a little bit. Now, Samuel is one of the most knowledgeable individuals I know when it comes to Star Wars, so he's going to help me out here. We have the different lightsabers that you can actually build at Savi's. So when you figure out what scrap metal you're going to build, you're going to have to choose which color. Now, by all means, if you have a favorite color, pick the favorite color. That's not a big deal. But if you really want to get into it and identify it, let's talk about the colors at first. We're going to actually start with red, only because it's the closest one to me. Now, in lore, or actually in canon, all the crystals start off as clear, and the color changes based on who you are and what you reflect into the building of your lightsaber. But at Savi's, here's your colors. Now, red is the color of power, and it focuses mostly, you'll see it with the Sith and those who follow the dark side. To create a red crystal requires you to force so much power through the clear crystal that it actually bleeds. You damage the crystals. Now remember, in canon and lore, the crystals are actually kind of like living beings. So when you force all that power through, you make the crystal bleed, which is why you also see sporadic movements. You see it a lot in Kylo Ren's lightsaber, where it's not a clean color, it's very sporadic in its force as the force pushes it through, and it's red because he's damaged the crystal.
Not only is bleeding able to be done on clear crystals or white crystals, but also any color. Darth Vader himself, clearly not having his original lightsaber after he turned to the dark side, taken by Obi-Wan Kenobi in the battle at Mustafar, he actually took another Jedi's lightsaber that he killed and bled that crystal, but because of how powerful Anakin Skywalker was, he fully destroyed that crystal, which is what happened with Kylo Ren. In Kylo Ren's case, he didn't fully destroy the crystal, he put a crack in it, and because of that crack, the crystal became so powerful through bleeding that he had to install those exhaust ports,
yeah,
whatever you would call them, which created the, what is it?
People call them, hand guards, the guards.
Hand guards.
Yeah, exactly. So he didn't design the lightsaber to be something with, hand guards on it. The blade was so powerful that he had to install ports for that extra power to come out. Yeah, great add-on.
Another thing is that in the legends, it's said that red crystals were actually synthetic. While that's no longer true, it is possible to grow synthetic Kyber crystals. It was used during Project Celestial Power, the Death Star project. And while those crystals were green in nature, it is possible to grow synthetic Kyber crystals now. I don't know if you can bleed them or not. I don't think that's been touched on yet, but more than likely.
So let's move on. We'll start with the Jedi colors, and we'll start with green. All of my lightsabers have all the different colors in them for specific reasons. Now, the 2 Jedi colors that we have that are the most prominent are the green and the blue crystals. For simplicity, and I'll let Samuel go into more detail, if you have a green Kyber crystal, it means that you're more of a diplomatic Jedi. You focus more on diplomacy than you do combat. It doesn't mean you're not skilled at combat. It means that you're more into creating order in the universe through diplomacy. Blue means that you're very accomplished in combat and you're focused mostly in the Jedi arts of combat, and that have a lightsaber, will wield, and create order more through combat capabilities and less for diplomacy.
Excellent explanations. I'm gonna put blue down. Green was the color of the Jedi consular in Legends. Consulars weren't just diplomats or Jedi sent on missions of diplomatic nature. They were scholars. They were learners. The green blade reflected that in them. If you saw a Jedi with a green lightsaber, you knew that they were probably either there to bring peace or to find something that was lost. You were talking about how each lightsaber has a different color in it because you feel the nature of them would be related to more of a color. I would put green personally in protection and defense, mainly just because protection and defense is based on the Old Republic. It's based on the stylings of the Jedi long past, from the High Republic era and stuff like that. And as such, a consular would be seen carrying something more archaic like that. It wasn't uncommon to see a lot of green lightsaber blades. Qui-Gon Jinn, Master Yoda, Ahsoka Tano in her early days. All of these people had green lightsabers, but it really speaks to the character of the Jedi. I really resonate with consulars. I have a lot of knowledge on Star Wars, and I really feel like if I was a Jedi, I would be a consular. So
awesome.
The green crystal is always one of my favorites. Blue was the Jedi Guardian, the Defenders of the Order, the true Knights of the Order. A Jedi with a blue lightsaber was skilled in combat. Look at Anakin Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, two of the greatest duelists of their time. Rey didn't get to choose her Kyber Crystal, but you could say that she's one of the most powerful Jedi ever to exist. And if that's because of her heritage or not, we won't discuss. But
not in this video.
Not in this video. But it's interesting to note that the softest color is also the strongest. Blue is a very soft color. People who prefer the color blue are, interested in the calmer things in life. But in the Jedi Order, they, were the strongest, were the best duelists, were able to defend themselves. Now, if we were to pair this with a lightsaber, I would probably go with Peace and Justice. Peace and Justice is based on the lightsabers of the Golden Age of the Jedi, the era of the Clone Wars, and the Rise of the Empire era. And it was really designed for functionality instead of, elegance. The lightsaber itself looks like it could be made of any number of things, but in all honesty, most Peace and Justice lightsabers are for dueling.
Now, the irony here is this one has blue and this one has green.
Interesting.
Yeah. When I did Peace and Justice, I wanted a traditional Jedi color. So I knew I had blue, so I went green with this one. And I felt it fit for me, but your explanation of how the colors work makes a lot more sense. And it was this one, we're going to talk about purple next, and this one, of course, ended up being my purple lightsaber, and of course my power and control was red. So now let's talk about purple, because this is a very unique color. When we look at the movies, the only one with the purple lightsaber is Mace Windu, and then that's because Samuel Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber. That was the only reason we had purple. And George Lucas says we have green and blue for Jedis, and we have red for the Sith. And he goes, but I want a purple. And George Lucas went, okay, you can have a purple. And now it's actually part of lore. So what I've been told, and Samuel will feed more into this, is Mace had very strong factors when it came to combat. He was one of the most talented combatants of the Jedi. He had mastered all the different forms. But Mace also had, so normally he would have had a blue blade, but Mace also, according to what I've been told in lore, had embraced his hatred or his dark side. So every Jedi always had to combat the darkness inside them and push it away. Mace embraced it and controlled it. With Mace, he pushed so much power through his crystal. And instead of rejecting the hatred and the frustration and the dark side in him, he embraced it and controlled it. And thus, he made the crystal bleed a little bit, but being that he was so skilled in combat and embraced the combative and mastered all the different combat skills of the Jedi, it kind of formed something new. He had the blue and the red combined, creating purple.
In Legends, it was dictated that Mace Windu had control over his dark side, and that he was able to use it to create a new fighting style. I can't remember what it's called, but it was the master of dual-wielding lightsabers. So he was a very powerful Jedi, and he did master his dark side. But in canon, he is regarded as the leader of the Jedi Order. There's no way that he would have reached that position if he had any sort of mastery over the dark side. So in my opinion, it's just a sign of how powerful he was. And that's something to think about. While he would have probably been regarded as a Jedi Guardian, think about his last lightsaber duel with Palpatine and how he beat Palpatine. You know, if Anakin hadn't intervened, he probably would have killed Palpatine.
Without question.
One of the most powerful Sith Lords ever to exist. Probably. And that's something to think about. The purple crystal is definitely rare and beautiful. And that's uniqueness. And you're right, the story of why it exists is because Mace Windu's actor Samuel L. Jackson wanted to be noticed in big battle scenes. So in Attack of the Clones, when they had hundreds of Jedi running around that arena, he wanted people to know where he was in the fight. And he didn't just want to have another green or blue lightsaber, so he had George give him purple. So that's true. And something we don't have displayed here is the yellow or white crystal, and that's only because those are not used in Savis, and they're not allowed in Savis. If you have a yellow or white crystal, I implore you not to take it in with you, or to take it in with you but not to use it. The yellow crystal was one used by the Jedi Sentinels, protectors of the Order's most sacred sites. Jedi Temple Guards, they all have yellow lightsabers. And the Jedi Temple Guards are unique and definitely a subject for another video.
Yeah. Well, in another video, we're actually going to go into much more detail about the yellow and whites. We'll give you a brief description now, and later on, we'll actually go into more of the lore of that. But tell us a little bit about the whites.
The white is completely unique. There have been maybe 2 characters who have ever used it, Ahsoka Tano, and I like to include Mitra Surik in that list. Mitra Surik, the Jedi Exile, definitely a subject of another video on our other channel, 2 Men and a Droid.
Yes. Samuel's actually my partner in another YouTube channel that we're just starting up. There will be a link to that channel in the description below. Please check it out. We are 2 Men and a Droid, and it's all Star Wars.
All Star Wars. So yeah, Mitra Surik, I would definitely include in the lightsaber game. She's a cool character. If you haven't looked her up, look her up. But it reflects the user's soul in a way that the other colors don't. It can be said that a white lightsaber points to someone who will be extremely important to the Jedi Order or the Force itself. So it's something to think about and definitely something to research.
Absolutely.
With so few characters using a canonical white lightsaber, it's very, very curious.
So watch for that video to come soon. Please subscribe to the other channel. And when you visit Savi's, think about what you just learned here and use the Force to pick out the right color for you. Now, it doesn't matter. I just want to point out that I have seen people take power and control, and most people just put a red crystal in there. I have now seen 3 different people putting green and blue into this lightsaber, and most people, like I said, traditionally put in red. So you can pick out your favorite and then put whatever crystal you want in there. But I think it's kind of fun to do some soul searching, then figure out what type of person you are inside, and then pick your proper color.
If I could add to that, and this is just going to be pretty much parroting what you just said, it is not the lightsaber that dictates its use, it's the user. You know, we have elemental nature here, one of my favorites, and it has the Rancor Tooth. Do you know that the Rancor Tooth is actually based on a canonical Jedi?
No.
From Legends. It's based on Tinalka Dejo, who is the princess of Hapes, the Hapes cluster. And her mother is a Danthamiri Night Sister. And her father is the Prince of Hapes. And when she built her first lightsaber, she wanted it to reflect her unique heritage. And so she had a purple blade and a Rancor Tooth. And her whole saber was made in the Rancor Tooth.
Wait, she had a purple blade?
She had a purple blade.
I have a purple blade.
You have a purple blade.
In that one. So that's kind of cool with the Rancor Tooth. And I never knew about that until just now.
But she was, in Legends, she is part of the generation of Jedi trained by Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
she is one of the second generation of Jedi trained by Luke and his trainees. And the interesting thing about her is she is tied to the dark side, not through personal experience, but through her husband, Jason Solo, who went to the dark side to save her and their infant daughter. Sound familiar? But the thing about it is that, you know, the Rancor is one of the most fearsome creatures in the galaxy. It is a creation of Sith alchemy.
Oh, is it?
It's supposedly results of Sith alchemy and the dark side. But just because it is a part of your lightsaber doesn't mean it's evil. Just because these parts are salvaged from, you know, Imperial temples and Sith ruins and crashed starships of Inquisitors doesn't mean that the blade and the components are evil or that the user is a Sith Lord. Just because these parts were made by the Jedi in the Golden Era doesn't mean that the person using it isn't a Sith Lord.
Right.
You know, it's something to think about. Don't go into Savi's with black and white expectations. Don't go in thinking, if I get power and control, I have to get red. If I get peace and justice, I have to get blue or green or purple.
The parts don't matter as much as what's coming out of the crystal. Yeah. It's the crystal that dictates how, you know, who you are. I love how this looks. I think this one's a neat thing, but one of the things just a quick one, is if you decide to do power and control, I highly recommend that you get these two combinations. This switch with the little red bead here, and this top guard with the red windows, because when it's disassembled, you have these little, when you have the core and you put the crystal in, it flashes that color. Well, if you line this up, and it's flashing right now, but it's probably hard to see with the lights, the bead here will glow, and the light will flash right here, and it's the only lightsaber at Savi's that will do this with this combination. So that's my little tip to you there. But remember, pick whatever you want that you like, but it's the crystal that dictates who you are inside. I'm the Orlando Wizard. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and remember to click the bell icon. And please check out our new channel that's coming up, 2 Men and a Droid. If you enjoy my channel, please consider supporting us on Patreon or PayPal, and the link is down below.